that you have a local WordPress installation, let's mess with it. We'll check out the file structure, play with how WordPress connects to the database by changing the URL, breaking the website, and then fixing it again by editing the database tables. You'll also learn where user information is stored in the database and change a username directly, something that's not possible through WordPress itself. In this video, you'll learn several skills that can help you save a hacked or broken website and learn to hack the database yourself to accomplish what you need. Sweet! Whether you're working in a local development environment like MAMP or local by Flywheel, or you're using a live server like SiteGround, open and log into your WordPress website, and if you like, activate the 2016 theme. And let's explore where themes and plugins are located. Appearance Themes is where we'll see the default theme 2016 active and a couple other themes that come with WordPress. And then if you click Plugins, Installed Plugins, you'll see that they're located in a folder, the two plugins that come with WordPress, Akismet to prevent comment spam, and Hello Dolly. Let's play with Hello Dolly. If your plugins doesn't contain Hello Dolly yet, you can just go up to Add New, and over on the right side, search for the word hello or Hello Dolly, and you'll find it and click Install Now and Activate. Activate that plugin. An original plugin by founder of WordPress, Matt Mullenweg, gives you a quote from the musical Hello Dolly at the top of your administration page. If we look at the file structure under MAMP htdocs WP Dev Course 1, where the plugins and the themes are located, now it's important to know that you don't want to change any files under WP-admin, WP-includes, or any of the files in the core structure besides the config file. But the WP-content file is where all your content, including uploads, once you upload a file to the media library, it'll create an uploads folder here, and the plugins and themes are located in these folders, obviously. And if you're using your SiteGround live environment, you can go back into the SiteGround user area and click Go to cPanel. The control panel will give you access to that file manager that we used in previous videos. So inside the cPanel, I'll go down a little bit further to where I can see files, and I'll click File Manager. Under WP Content, you can see that I have plugins and themes, and this time I have Upgrade and Uploads as well. Upgrade is created automatically by WordPress for updates of the software, and Uploads is created for the media library. But under Plugins, there's my list of installed plugins. Now, if you end up with a plugin conflict where you have an active plugin or you activate one that has a conflict that breaks your site, an easy way to go in and rectify that situation is to go in via FTP if you're on a live web server, or here using Windows Explorer. You can go in and see which plugins are here. Here, this one, instead of being in a folder, being a very simple plugin, it's just a single PHP file. If you go in and just rename a plugin file, I'll just put -rename after it. When you go back and log in to your dashboard in WordPress, go to the plugins page, look at which plugins I have activated, and it says the plugin hello.php has been deactivated. The plugin file does not exist. It's looking for a plugin from under a different file name, and because I renamed it, it deactivated the plugin, and then that can bring your website either back live or eliminate the plugin conflict if you were having one. So now, if I go back and into Windows Explorer, I just go back and rename that plugin back to what it was. This is one way to troubleshoot conflicts with your website as you're building it. You can see that if I refresh the page here in the WordPress dashboard, that plugin is now deactivated. And this is a good way to make your website and your dashboard back active again if you were having a plugin conflict. Now navigate to Settings, General, And let's look at the general settings here. We can see that one of the first couple of things we have is the site title and the tagline, but the WordPress address and the site address are the third and the fourth fields in the general settings panel, and you can see that the URLs are the same. But let's explore where these URLs are located within the database and find out how to change those and why we would in the first place. So if you navigate to the MAMP start page again, you can right click and open the PHP My Admin panel in a new tab, which I've already done up here. And here we are in the database, and I can click the WP Dev Course 1. Go ahead and browse into your own database using the name that you used when you set up WordPress. And if you're using the SiteGround live site, you can go down to the database sections in the C panel and open PHP My Admin. It's the same exact utility that MAMP uses, and databases on the live site are located right here. These are the tables that WordPress installs automatically, and the URLs are located in WP_options. So if you click that once, you can see all the tables located here. And the first two are the site URL and the home. And in order to change these, you can click once and click edit over here. You can double click right here and change that to what you want. Now if the domain was pointed to something like wpdevcourse1.com, hit enter, and that will actually change the row inside of the table in the database.com. Now if I change those two, I can go back, and if I just refresh the dashboard here, you can see that the server wasn't found. Now of course I cannot access my website dashboard or the website itself through this domain name, wpdevcourse1.com, unless I own that domain name and I have the domain pointed to the server using name servers or the DNS settings in my domain name registrar. This is something you might run across as you migrate sites from either a staging environment into the live development or live server environment at your hosting company, or if you're moving sites that you're building in one place under a testing URL over to another live URL on the server, as well as if you're building a site at a testing URL and then you point the domain finally to the live URL instead of to a holding page or a coming soon page that you might have open while you're building the website. Now if you can't navigate to the website or the dashboard because the DNS settings are already pointed there, or you're using the wrong URL here, what happens if I try to go to localhost where I know the site is located? Localhost /wpdevcourse1/wp-admin. If I navigate there, there's a problem loading the page. Server's not found because it wants to redirect to wherever the database tells it to redirect. So on the server or in your home development environment, your local development environment, you can navigate back to the database, and let's make this the correct URL for the site URL and the home URL so that I can actually continue building the site. If you remember, that would be localhost /wpdevcourse1, and then I'll do the same thing with the home URL. And now I can be sure that if I want to go to localhost wpdevcourse1, my website should be back working again. Yes, here it is. And I'm still logged in. So I could actually go to the dashboard and continue working on the site. So give that a try yourself. Break the website and then fix it again by editing the site URL and the home URL in the database. Okay, hopefully you have broken the website and then fixed it again by editing some rows inside of your database. Now let's take a look at some more of the file structure under themes. And I'm going to navigate to WP Content and Themes this time. I know that my theme that I have active is 2016. Let's go ahead and just verify that. Here it is, 2016 is the active theme. So I'm going to open 2016 and just take a look at the files in here. And one of the main files that performs some layout functions and defines how the content is displayed in WordPress is called the functions.php file. Sometimes this will be a file that you might make changes on to customize a website, but there's a best practices in terms of how to edit this file and where to edit it. Let's take a look inside WordPress. By default, the WordPress dashboard comes with, under the Appearance panel, an editor. Now, the first time you visit the editor, it'll give you a heads-up message that says you appear to be making direct edits to your theme in the WordPress dashboard. It's not necessarily a best practice, and in fact, we'll learn later in the course how to make child themes so that when we want to add code to the theme files, we'll do it without editing the theme itself. It's a parent theme and a child theme relationship. But you can go ahead and make direct edits anyway, and you just have to click I understand. One particular file that might be the file most often edited in WordPress themes is the style.css file. Now there's another message that you can see here that says there's no need to change your CSS or your cascading style sheets file. You can edit and live preview CSS changes in the built-in CSS editor. That's located under Appearance in the Customizer. There's no automatic editor or previewer like there is for CSS for the functions.php file. That's a place where you'd want to use a child theme in most cases. But I just wanted to show you, if we go down to the bottom of this file, say we were doing a little editing anyway, even though it's not our best practice, in the themes functions.php file, what if I deleted the last semicolon here and then went and tried to save the file? WordPress has a syntax checker. It'll check to make sure that there's no errors so your site doesn't break and give you the white screen of death, as it's so called. In this case, in my local environment, it tells me that it's unable to communicate back with the site to check for fatal errors, and so the PHP change was reverted. It won't let me break the site through the WordPress dashboard. In an example I'll show you in one of my live sites at SiteGround, I did the same kind of thing. I deleted the last semicolon. This one was able to communicate, and it said the PHP code changes were rolled back due to an error on line 616. It's expecting a semicolon. So if you make an error, it will either tell you that it can't communicate, or it'll tell you what the error is, and it won't let you break your own site. One more thing. Let's go ahead and look at user accounts. You should probably be the only user within your account in WordPress. You can see your WordPress email there, your role as administrator. Now, if I click on my name here or edit, I can open my profile. And suppose I wanted to change my username. Perhaps you're editing someone else's WordPress installation that's older and is using the traditional admin as a username, which is best practice not to use because it's too recognizable for hackers. But if you wanted to change it to username, it says right here, usernames cannot be changed. Well, let's go ahead and change the username using the database. So navigate back to the database, or go back there if you already have it open. Let's look at our WordPress tables again. And let's see, under WP users, I can see that there's a user here. User login is where the username is located. Now, if I just double click that row, I could change that to a different username. What if I just add my middle initial and hit enter? Great. Now what's going to happen over here if I refresh the page on my profile? Oh, it's logged me out because there is no more Greg Davis as a user inside the system. The username has changed and it has the same password. So I wonder if I can log in, whoops, using the same username and password, except I've added an S, my middle initial. Great. Let's look at my profile. My username is now changed. So if you need to change the username from admin to something different or do that, you don't have to necessarily create a new user and then delete the old user. You can go into the database and edit that username. One last useful edit that we can learn using the database is to update someone's password if they can't use the lost your password link. When someone clicks this link, the system should email them a reset password link to the administrator email. But if you're using MAMP, especially earlier versions of MAMP, they don't actually send email out in the server system. If you need to, you can always log into the database using PHP MyAdmin or another database editor, and you can edit the password of a user. But there's a particular way that you want to do that. You can see that the user_pass under the WP users table and the row for a user is a string. That's not the actual password. It is encrypted even inside the database. However, this can be edited. This time, instead of double-clicking it like that, I'm going to click Edit so that I can look at all the rows for this field inside of the table. Now the user pass is what I'm going to edit. So if I just create a password, which is not a very good one, Greg's password with a capital G, and I hit go to save this, that's actually not going to work. I want to make sure that this password is encrypted in a certain way. So under the function drop down here for this new password, I need to select MD5. That is the type of encryption that WordPress uses for passwords. So I'm looking for, here it is, it's near the top. MD5 is what you have to have selected to choose a new password for a user. Now I'll go down in PHP MyAdmin and click Go, and it said that one row was changed. You can see that the user pass element is now a different encrypted password, but you have to remember what that password is. So if I go back, my username is the same, but if I type that password and log in, now I have a new password for that user. In this lesson, you've broken your website in 3 different ways and then fixed it by editing a plugin file, the database, and the theme's functions.php file. Great job! In the next video, we'll go over your student sandbox at wpdevcourse.com in detail and get it ready for you to experiment with premium themes and frameworks and premium plugins. See you there! In this video, you'll get your sandbox website set up at students.wpdevcourse.com, where you'll be able to use all the premium themes and plugins that make my life so much easier in my business. Several of the websites you'll build in this course are made using premium themes and plugins that you can buy licenses to resell and then deliver those sites to your clients. We'll use the Student Sandbox website at students.wpdevcourse.com to learn to build these types of sites. By using the student code in the next document, you'll be able to get your own private sandbox WordPress installation at wpdevcourse.com. Let's get started. I've set up a WordPress multi-site installation at wpdevcourse.com that allows you to get your own WordPress website that includes all the premium themes and plugins that I use in my business. You can configure and build websites with the themes, but you won't be able to take them with you. And that's the beauty of the multi-site installation. I can teach you how to use all these wonderful tools, and you can choose whether you want to use them in your business. I didn't start out with all these developers licenses, but now that I'm licensed, I can sell very sophisticated and well-built sites to my clients without having to build them from scratch. On a side note, near the end of this course, I'll be teaching you how to set up your own multi-site installation as well. Let's go over some of the premium theme and plugin providers included in your student sandbox. StudioPress and the Genesis framework makes it super easy to create customized websites for clients by using their excellent assortment of child themes. Genesis is a framework theme for WordPress that allows developers to easily hook into extra functions and design processes as they create child themes for it. StudioPress offers a complete and varied assortment of child themes, and I use a developer's license to provide the themes as a starting point for my client sites. We'll be experimenting with Genesis and some of the StudioPress themes in your sandbox site. WPMUdev.org is a group of excellent, dedicated WordPress plugin developers. They keep their plugins updated, fast-loading, and coded well. WPMUDev's paid membership is well worth the expense for my business, and my clients get a huge benefit from all the different plugins I'm able to use with their sites. They also have a theme framework called Upfront that allows you to design custom sites from the front end, all while seeing what you're doing and without coding. Your sandbox site is loaded with lots of their best plugins, as well as several upfront starter themes we'll be playing with throughout this course. I'd like to introduce you to the Soliloquy Slider plugin. It's available at soliloquywp.com for the commercial version with all its excellent add-ons, and there's also a free light version in the WordPress plugin repository. I use the developer's licensed version as a trustworthy, mobile-responsive, versatile slider plugin when I need one. We'll be playing with some of the plugin's excellent functions through your sandbox site. In the document right after this video, you'll find your private student code that you can use to sign up for your sandbox website at wpdevcourse.com. Click the Student Sandbox button here, or in the header menu, and you'll see the student resource site at students.wpdevcourse.com. Click the center button to get your own site using your private student code. In just a couple of steps, you'll have your own WordPress site with tons of premium themes and plugins to play with as we build some of the coolest sites in this course. Just fill in a username, an email address, the student sandbox code, choose a password, type it twice, or leave the fields blank for a random password to be generated, which you'll get via email, and then give me a site needs to be checked, and hit next. Next, just choose a name for your actual site. It will be thatname.wpdevcourse.com, and choose a site title, and click sign up. Great! You can go to the admin area by just clicking this button or view the site, and you'll be logged in right away. Here's my new WordPress site. Within your sandbox site, you'll see that the URL is whatever name you chose, .wpdevcourse.com, and the standard wp-admin is the dashboard URL. There's some differences. Up at the top left is a resources button that will take you to a resources page for hosting and premium plugins and premium themes links that we're going over in this course. And you'll see that there's a few differences in the sidebar. Under settings, for example, there's no permalinks adjustment settings. I've got that set for every site the same in this multi-site installation. You can, however, choose the themes you want to use the customizer, use the widgets editor, choose menus and navigation items, header, or whatever the theme puts in the appearance tab. You can also create pages, you can create posts, and you can manage media in the standard ways. One quick note in terms of media and the media library. I've got a limit of 32 megabytes space allowed for each of the sites in this multi-site installation, and this place will tell you how much space you've used so far. We'll be going over how to compress and resize imagery, like I indicated in one of the earlier videos, as we make images and imagery for the different sites we'll be making in this course. You'll see that if you click Plugins, there's no Add New button because I've got a standard group of premium plugins already added to the multi-site installation and available to every site, including yours. You can see there's a long list of plugins that are not activated when you get your new site, and we're going to be using and going over how to use a lot of these plugins as we go through and build sites in this course. Another resource you have within your Sandbox site area are tutorial videos for WordPress. WP 101 tutorial videos are excellent, and I like to offer these to my clients. I have a developer's license with Sean Hasquith with WP 101, and I offer these tutorial videos privately to my clients. WPMU Dev also has a plugin called Video Tutorials that you can click through to, and you or your clients can go ahead and look at all these customized videos for different sections of WordPress. And if you go under Dashboard and click My Sites, you'll see that your first site is here, and you can make a new site for every part of the course where we make a new website. Just click Add New, and it'll tell you which sites you already have, and then you can go through the process of creating another site for your coursework. In this video, you've learned about the premium themes and plugins we'll be using to make many of the websites in this course. You've also set up your first WordPress installation for coursework at wpdevcourse.com and looked at the differences between a standard WordPress installation and your Sandbox site. Don't forget, the WordPress 101 tutorial videos and the WPMU Dev tutorials are available from your wpdevcourse.com WordPress dashboard. Next, we'll be exploring the WordPress dashboard and default themes and plugins in one of your standard WordPress installations in preparation for making your first website in the course. Let's do it! Now we'll delve back into your local development environment and check out the way WordPress is installed by default. In a standard WordPress installation, there are several default themes present, with the newest one activated, and a couple of standard plugins as well. Plus, the default settings are always set the same, and there are a few that should be changed to use best practices. In this video, you'll learn what settings to change as soon as you install a WordPress installation and why these changes are important. Let's go. First, let's get set up with our local WordPress installation that we set up in the previous video. I'm going to start MAMP, and it's already started so I can see the Apache server and the MySQL server are running. And I'm going to open Preferences just to make sure I know where I need to go, and click the Web Server tab, and I can see that under ht-docs, under the MAMP folder, is where I have my document root. And that tells me that under localhost, each of my folder names that I had set up with a WordPress installation will be the name of my website. If you remember, I set up WP Dev Course 1 as my WordPress website. But let's open Windows Explorer, and if I look under C:, and in the MAMP folder, under ht-docs, you can see that I've got these different WordPress installations present. If you open Windows Explorer, you can go and see which folders you have and what are their names, and then go back to your browser and type the name of one of the folders and hit return, and it'll load your website as long as MAMP is running. Now, in the default installation, the meta sidebar information is down here on the right hand side, and there's a login button. I'll usually right click on that and click open link in new tab, and I already have a tab open here, and I can log in with the username that I had set up before and password. So now I'm logged in to my fresh WordPress installation that has all the defaults set up, and I'm not on the internet. I'm using WordPress in a local environment, and it's going to be the fastest setup for creating new sites and managing my coursework. Go ahead and navigate to your own WordPress installation, and we'll get started looking at the defaults. First of all, if you open the website itself, you can see that this is the 2016 theme. Let's go back to the tab, open up Appearance and Themes, and let's look at which themes come with WordPress at this point. One is called 2016. It tells me that it's the active theme. The next one is 2015 and 2014. If you click each of the theme details buttons, you can look at what theme's the current theme, some information about the theme, how it's tagged, and the image of the theme. There's a few control buttons here, but I don't usually use these control buttons to customize my websites. I'll use the ones that are over here under Appearance. You can click the small arrow at the top left to go through the themes that are installed in your WordPress installation and look at the actual traits for each one of them. And the X closes that modal window. If you roll over plugins and then click Installed Plugins, you can see that WordPress ships with 2 plugins already installed. Now, they're not activated, but they are installed. Akismet prevents comment spam, and Hello Dolly is a fun plugin created by one of the founders of WordPress, Matt Mullenweg. And if we activate the Hello Dolly plugin, you can see that it's very simple. What it does is it gives you a quote from the Hello Dolly musical in the top of your dashboard every time you go to a different page. Now, if this isn't a plugin that would be appropriate for your client, you might go into the plugins list, which I often do, and I delete that plugin. I like to keep my dashboards simple and understandable for my clients. So once it's not activated, you can hit delete and go ahead and delete the files. And then that plugin won't be in your plugin list anymore. Akismet is a great plugin to activate once you've got your site set up and configured, because if you have comments enabled for posts on the website, it will prevent a lot of spam from coming in and spamming and emailing the managers and the administrators of the site. For now, while I'm building sites, I just keep it inactivated. Now, if we go up and roll over users and look at your profile, you can see some information about your user account. And down a few items down is the word toolbar and the checkbox, show toolbar when viewing site. Now, by default, WordPress has this checkbox enabled. And if you go over to the website in another tab, you can see that the toolbar across the top is a place that you can use to get to the dashboard and other places to manage your site, as well as your user profile and a login and logout button over here. A member of the public wouldn't be seeing this toolbar, so I prefer to go back and uncheck the toolbar box, update my profile, and then because I work between 2 tabs in my browser, I can refresh the page, and that toolbar disappears, thereby showing me the way the site would look to the general public. Back in the dashboard, if you click Settings, General, or just the Settings button, you'll open the General Settings tab, and you'll see a few settings that you've made when you set up the website initially. The site title, of course, but then the tagline is a default tagline, just another WordPress site. You might change that to something more appropriate for your client. The WordPress address and the site URL address are probably the same as what was set up when you were doing your WordPress installation. Your email address from when you set up the WordPress installation. All these are part of the defaults. And as we roll down, membership means that you can have people register as a user on the site, and when they register, what type of user are they going to be? A subscriber or a number of different users that will go through as we go into making membership sites in the future. I'll usually leave this unchecked for a regular website for a client. I will change the time zone, and not only the UTC times with the numbers, but there are also time zones in different cities across the world. You can just type the first few letters of the largest city around and see if that is the same time zone as yours. Denver's the one for me. And I choose a date format, a time format that fits with my country or my client's country, and how I'd like to start the week, and the language. And let's save our changes. Whenever you save changes in WordPress, you'll usually get an administrator message with a green bar here. This one says settings saved. You can always click the red X at the right side to close those messages. Just a few more settings to go through. If we check the writing settings page, you'll see that as you make a post, if you're doing a blog as a part of your site, if you have categories, you can make a default post category. Post formats we'll talk about in a later video, but in this theme, they enable a number of different post formats, whether it's going to be an image, potentially a video, a status or a quote, or a standard post format. And then you can post via email, meaning you can make an email address, and when that email address receives an email from you, it will make a post in the blog section of the website. Update services means when you publish a new post, it will enable the notification of a service like pingomatic.com, and this is good for search engine optimization and notifying websites around the internet that you have a new post. Under reading, this is a settings page that controls how your website visitors will approach your website. Your latest posts or a static page. And what I'm going to do right now is select a front page, which is going to be a page that's already built within the website. It's one of the default pages called sample page. And I'm going to change that from your local posts. In a subsequent video, we're going to be learning how to configure a website for a client using this theme, and we'll be creating a static page as the front page in order to have that website be appropriate for the client. There's a few blog settings pages, and I usually use these at their defaults. And then while I'm building a site, I'll usually discourage the search engines from indexing the site if it's on my live hosting company. I don't have to have that checked if it's locally inside my own computer because no one can access it through the internet. But I'll click Save Changes for my front page display settings. Discussion has to do with commenting, and there's a few settings you can read through here if you're going to have a blog section on your client's website, and you can control the commenting system. Under Media, depending on what theme you're using, these are the standard image sizes that get created when you upload a photo or an image to the media library. I'll usually leave these at their defaults unless I'm looking to match my column width or the body text width inside of posts and pages. And at that time, I might change this to the appropriate size so that every time I upload an image, it'll make a nice size image for that column width. In terms of the way you organize your files inside the media library, you can organize them into different folders that have months and years, or you can leave all of your images inside of the media library, which is a folder called Uploads. And it depends what you're trying to do with your clients, but oftentimes I will just uncheck the Organize My Uploads box as I'm building the site. And potentially if that client wants to have a blog and they're going to be uploading images relative to different dates and posts, I'll recheck that for future uploads. Lastly, permalinks are the URLs that your site is using. Now, it's very important actually that you check an appropriate box right here. Post name is currently the most popular permalink setting for WordPress posts. This gives you an excellent search engine optimized URL structure so that the names of your pages and posts appear in the URL. So click post name and then save changes. In terms of the categories and the tags, which we'll go over in a future video, the category default base URL word is called category. But there's an explanation here. If you use the word topics right here, then it'll make your link say /topics and then whatever the category name is. Tag is the default word for the tag base. Lastly, there are a few default posts, pages, and comments that get put in so you can look at the way that the theme looks. And there's a hello world post where if you open that up, you can just see one sentence in here. Welcome to WordPress. This is your first post. Edit or delete it, then start writing. And you can see that our permalink structure has propagated through the site, and it's got the post name here after the website address. If you click Pages, All Pages, you'll see that there's also a sample page that comes up. And you can see that from our settings under Reading, when we set a static page for our home page, it's now showing us that, yes, this is called the front page that we chose in that other setting. Finally, there is a default comment that comes up, and all three of these pages are something that you may want to either edit or delete before you deliver this site to a client. In this video, you've opened up your local WordPress installation, looked at the defaults, and changed some of the default settings to adhere with best practices. In the next chapter, you'll build your first client site, a simple brochure website using the default theme and a few extra plugins. See you there.